upped our standards. So now, up yours. The Daily Mojo.
It seems to me that some of these people in Washington really don't understand how pissed off we are out here, or they know how pissed off we are, but they feel like it's going to be like every other time in the past where we've been pissed off and it blows over, and then they can go back to business as usual in the Capitol, and everything will remain pretty much the same. Are we really in a different period of time now? Are people, you think, on the edge? And can this lead to something good? I hope.
Yes, and this is what we need. I tell people change is uncomfortable. It is. But this is what we need to get back to, what this republic, and it's not a democracy. It is a constitutional republic. It was supposed to be a public service, which means it wasn't supposed to be a failed career plan for politicians who can't get things done. We haven't had a balanced budget since '96. That is the fundamental number one job of Congress. So that tells us for more than 20 years, they haven't been doing their fundamental role, and they keep getting elected. So what I think you're seeing is this is the real chance for we the people to remind these politicians that I know you think you know better than the people who elected you, but you don't. And this is what it is. We put you here to represent our interest and to make sure America is headed in the right direction. And if you're not doing that like you would any other job, you're fired. To quote somebody I really respect,
right.
You're fired. But
exactly.
What we need to do now is just take this momentum to fix it and show the American people, what the Republican Party is. Let's get these spending cuts. Let's get this border secured. Let's get in a position to really have the red wave. We didn't have a red wave because we didn't show them anything different than the infighting the Democrats do. So now this is our opportunity to say, okay, we've heard you, we're listening. Now let's put into play what we the people. They said they don't want this guy as speaker. Great. Who's it going to be? Who represents our values? Who's going to move this needle and stand up to the left and make things different? And as long as we hold them accountable, I said justice dies in the dark. So carry a big floodlight. That's what I do. And that's what we have to do right now. So let's stop complaining and whining and pointing fingers. And Matt Gaetz is not a traitor. He did exactly what he said he was going to do.
Yeah,
he said these are the rules. If you don't hold them, I'm going to hold you to task. And he did it. Bravo, Matt. Bravo.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, because you ran for Congress, and I don't know what district it was, because I try not to follow politics as much as humanly possible, but
that's why you're smiling.
It does. It gets frustrating. You wanted to go to Washington.
Yes.
Is it possible? We were just talking about the national debt, $33 trillion. Is it even possible for this clown show in Washington, or I don't know, anybody, to ever get us out of that debt? $33 trillion is a lot. And even Trump didn't talk about it while he was in office. Is there a way to get out of it?
There is. There absolutely is a way. And you remember, I've been through the crunch. I did run for Congress. I'm the daughter of 2 retired Air Force lieutenant colonels, and I'm the wife of a retired C-17 pilot. I was born in service to people, in service to this country. So I understand what it means. And the word sacrifice has been thrown around so much, Brad, that people don't even know what it means anymore. Sacrifice means that, yes, we can absolutely get out of this, but we're not going to be able to do it by trying to play the fluffy bunny. We don't want to hurt any feelings. Everything is awesome. Theme that we've been going with. It requires us to run it the same way Americans are held to task. If we commit crimes, we go to jail. If we don't balance our budget, if we don't rein in our spending at home, we lose our houses, we lose our families, we lose our livelihood. But we're seeing a different set of rules that are being played to Washington. We absolutely can get out of debt, but we can't when we're sending $14 million for gender studies, and we're sending $67 billion to Ukraine to secure their border, and ours is wide open and people are dying of fentanyl. This is a recipe. It's a very simple formula. We have to stop spending, which means we need to bring it back into the limited government that the founding fathers, they said limited government. That means that why don't you guys focus on doing the limited things well instead of diving into indoctrinating my kids or diving into, mass this and mass that. The government was not supposed to be our welfare state. It's supposed to secure our border, keep us safe, take care of our military. And that's why right now they've got their fingers in so many things and the spending just keeps growing and growing and growing. And they're like, well, we'll do it next year. And remember, we're paying $1 trillion in interest, so
That's
we
crazy.
have to just say, okay, we're going to have to stop supporting and funding, the Ukraine thing. They're our allies, but we have got to take care of our own border. We've got to take care of our own people. So that's what it's going to take right now is people just really going, okay, we're going to have to make some tough sacrifices. I think with Trump, he had a wide open border and a messed up economy. He had a lot of things he had to put in. So we had to prioritize some things, but now we're going to have to prioritize both. We got to cut the spending, period.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think Trump did amazing things, despite the fact he was having to fight both sides of the aisle. I didn't vote for him the first time. I did the second time, but I was impressed with what he did get accomplished. And again, having to fight both sides was crazy.
Yes.
I did want to bring Ron in here because you guys have something in common. The whole Ron was a what were you? You were like a commander drill sergeant.
No, I was a drill sergeant for the. Well, they call them drill sergeants in the Army, but I was Air Force TI for about 4 years. Yeah.
Thank you for your service, Ron. Thank you.
Oh yeah, and Brad and I were talking about it. He said she was the daughter of some Air Force people, and I said, well, I mean, Air Force kids probably they don't necessarily like all that moving around, but I can see I was wrong about you.
Well, I'm professional, but I came home. Back to, I was born in Texas. And so when it came down to trying to run for Congress, and again, I didn't have a plan. It was just God called me to run. And I said, okay, well, we got to step up. We got to, if it's better, again, you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. So I'm like, why don't we be the change? I need to be the change I want to see. And I stepped up. And what I will tell people is this swamp was bigger, even everything I've seen. I've lived in actual communism. I've been to some of the most war-torn dirt holes in the world that people don't even want to know about. I've grown up in. But I will tell you, it was worse than I ever imagined. Dirty politics, established it. People would be surprised how many people in our own party. I mean, I was attacked. I was sabotaged. I was threatened, physically threatened. I mean, it is really dirty, but again, I have to be the change I want to see. And this is why I know now why people don't just step up to do this. Why don't normal people just get involved and do this? Because it's dirty and it's unbelievably, ridiculous. But how will it change if we don't get through this discomfort? And me, I shake it up. So it was, you should drop out. I'm like, it's going to be a long campaign for you. Go sit down. I got this.
Yep.
So, that's how we do it.
I want to,
and the more people do that, Raven, the more people say you should drop out and move on, the more you want to just keep doing it because kiss my ass.
Courage is contagious. I tell people right now that you've got to look at, I'm a Christian, but I believe in the Bible. I tell people there's really profound lessons in there. David didn't pray for the rock to kind of hit Goliath. He had to pick it up. Yep. And, Moses he didn't move the Red Sea. He parted it so we could pass through it. I mean, this is the nature of just going, okay, it's a time to shake your fist at the television. There's a time to report to this line and going, what can I do? Every one of us has a role. Every one of us was made for this time. So what are we going to do with this? We're going to tell our kids, we really, really, really tried, but it was just so tough. And we're going to give our kids' future up to a guy whose arch enemy is Corn Pop. Are you kidding? Not on my watch.
Hey, all you had to do was watch Matt Gaetz yesterday because what he did was brilliant. Honestly, and I'm not a huge Matt Gaetz fan, but he stood up. He did what he said he was going to do, and the debate, the pre-debate was phenomenal. He freaking attacked everything. And now he's
exposing on the back end. Look at he kept his word. He's getting sawed for keeping his word. This is what he said they would do. And yet they're more angry at Matt Gaetz for exposing that Kevin McCarthy didn't keep his word than they are McCarthy for not keeping his word. That is very telling.
It's backwards
right now.
Yep, sure is.
It really is. Two things. Number one, what do you Trump, is he going to play a role in any of this? A lot of people think that He may be nominated for Speaker, which, who knows? What do you think?
I think that he will, but I don't think, that's not where we need him. We need him back in the White House. We need the promises made, promises kept. And he has, of all the people who were running, I am a huge Trump fan, but what really gets me is of all the people running, he's done what they are all vying and saying they're going to do. He has done that. Right. He's given us a great stock market and low unemployment and a secure border. So that's where I am on that. But what I think is that's where we need him. That would be a distraction. It'd be very cool to see the heads, but I think that's not where we need him right now. We need him in the White House, period, stop. And our enemies need to see that he's coming back, because that's the peace through strength that Reagan talked about that was so successful. But I feel like right now what we need is just a solid, I like Byron Daniels a lot for this in terms of his background in finance and his his popularity among his constituencies and his constituents. Right. And what I would say is that's what the time we should see right now is Trump will play a role. But I think with that kind of support, if Trump could have the Congress and the legislative arm behind him, he had to fight the swamp. You remember when our grandparents had to walk uphill both ways in 2 feet of snow. You had feet.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was that kind of thing. That's what Trump really had to do. And that's what I tell people. Look at the loyalty now waning among Trump, among some of the others. But some of us, this is what the loyalty is. It's easy to be loyal when everything's going great. But we can't carry the cross for him, but we sure as heck can hold his arms up. We can lift him up and get behind him and say, because if he can't do this, if he can't overcome what the swamp is throwing at him, then the average person, we don't stand a chance. So we better hope he gets this right, and we should get behind him now. You only get to vote for communism one time.
There you go. Amen, sister. Raven Harrison over at ravenharrison.com if you want to find out more about her. And I mean this, I want to have you back, and because we have plenty to talk about. So hopefully this wasn't too painful for you.
Well, we love it. Thanks, Brad. I appreciate it. Good. We like to light it up, and that's what we're going to do. Front line.
The First Amendment.
Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do.
Lives here. Watch and listen at thedailymojo.com.